What's going on, everybody? It's Ron Brown, LMC, the People's Fitness Professional, alongside my co-host,
Mikey Fever.
and this is a New Yorker's Perspective. We have Dr. Paul Dyer, Brother Jelani Kalfani Bey in the building today, this evening. Where Dr. Paul Dyer went, I don't know. He fell out. He fell off the map. He'll be back. But today, we're building on masonry every Wednesday as usual. I had some questions from. If you guys can hear me on the microphone out there, if great. If you can't, I'm sorry. This week has been a little off because I'm trying all this new equipment. So, pardon me. But anyway, what was I saying, Mike? Where would I left? Where did I leave?
You said we're doing masonry today.
Oh yeah, we're doing masonry. I got questions from the comments. Dr. Paul Dyer and Jelani, you may not know, but this podcast is like almost a 24-hour thing because people ask questions and you got to answer, and they go in the comments. And someone asked, it said, are you this? Are you that? It seems like you're proselytizing for other organizations and blah blah blah. And I said, listen, the 5%, Allah's teachings or the 5% teachings is not for everybody. Just like Moorish science teachings is not for everybody. Masonry is not for everybody. However, this show is a show that's going to give you something of all schools of thought, because for what I think that everyone needs some kind of foundation. That's the whole point of this show. Everyone needs a foundation. We were supposed to have a pastor on this. We had him on one time, but we didn't get him back or whatever. So that's the whole thing. We also trying to bridge the gap between all the different schools of thought as well. So that's the other initiative. Because we like to be separate. Oh, I'm this. But on this show, we find the commonalities, the similarities.
Exactly. It's all about the upliftment of humanity. And shout outs to Nation of Islam, Nation of Gods and Earth, the Moors, Brothers of the Craft. If any Israelites are watching, peace to y'all, Shabbat Shalom, and all that.
Word. Peace. Chef Soul, peace to you. And one more thing before we go into it. I said on Facebook, I said this show, I can no longer claim it. And I mean, you know what? After today, I'm not saying it's my show anymore, because that's not right. Because Mikey Fever helped me build this show. So did Paul Dyer. So did Jelani. So did Sharif. So did Cujo.
Rest in peace to our brother
Arnell Bay.
Arnell
Bay. So NYP is all of our show. So that's how I'm moving with that moving forward. Anyway, so let's go into masonry. Peace. Oh yeah, and a Ben was a part of this.
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, Ben.
Yeah. So this is a Ben show. A Ben.
Peoria.
Yes. So anytime you want to come on and build on what's going on in Illinois, just let me know. I'm a text away. So let's go into it. Masonry. Jelani, before we got on the broadcast, I was saying, masonry is in 5% and Moorish science is all pretty much the same. And then Jelani, you kind of shook your head like, So what was that? What was that?
Well, I mean, listen, one of the things that I've come across, the Moors will say, well, the prophet unveiled all of the secrets, and my rebuttal to that is, well, okay, walk your way into a Masonic lodge. They say, work your way in. Go ahead and do that. If he unveiled all of the secrets, then you should know how to do that. There's a procedure for that. This is like, I would never come to you and go, peace, God, what's today's mathematics? And I've never had an enlightener. You know, I've never memorized the 120. You know, I know and understand that that's an invitation for a universal beatdown.
Yeah.
Perpetrating the fraud.
Right.
Neither would I go to an Alpha Phi Alpha and hug up with them, not knowing what's going on up underneath here, and get caught out there. See what I mean? So each jurisdiction, although they are symbiote circles of each other, there's a lineage in all of them. They have unique procedures, for lack of a better term, to be recognized for each other. So although some God bodies, you know, profess to know about Masonry, and they talk in a language that a Mason wouldn't understand. So that defeats the purpose. You know what I mean? If we say we're all one, like I've Dr. York, what he did with his brand of Masonry, some of the proponents of that used to really kind of, I'll be honest with you, get on my nerve. You know, I met a brother, and the brother took his pointer finger and stuck it up my forearm, and I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that really was supposed to mean something to me. You know, and then he professed to be proficient in Freemasonry. You know, well, it was an unfavorable conversation after that, because you're perpetrating the fraud. I myself would never cross the boundaries. And I don't care what I hear from the 5% Nation of Islam, I would never sit there and call myself building with one of the brothers, and I have no clue of the proper procedures to do so. See what I mean?
Respectfully. Yep.
Respectfully, you know what I'm saying? Now, would I like to learn? Of course. You know, I like to have the opportunity to perfect supreme mathematics in the alphabet, you know, and different. I love the doggone study 120, you know, but I'm sitting here telling you I don't know. So there's no need for me to profess or pretend. Now, okay, let's look at the lineage. Freemasonry is the oldest fraternity in the world. When you make that statement, you take it all the way back to brown people.
Bingo.
See what I mean?
Or as the prophet said, olive.
Well, that's right. Light and dark skinned olive people. All right.
You could just say melanated people.
Well, that too. Prophet said olive, and you're right, brother. And the thing about that is that it goes back not only to Egypt, where brother Asar Kwesi showed the brothers in their aprons stepping off on the left, whatever that means.
Yeah, that's not.
It goes back to Atlanta, Lemuria. You know, all of these, you know, there's pictures of a person being in a sarcophagus, sitting up with a dude with a lion's head or lion's mask on his head and reaching out, whatever that means. You see what I mean? In the Mezonetta or the hieroglyphics. See, so my was there was ancient fraternities. Those fraternities got a religious flavor to them, like your the Jedi from Thoth the Atlantis, where the Jedi get their name from. If you notice, they're dressed like Freemasons. You see what I mean? But you wouldn't know it if you didn't know what the dress for Freemasonry is. You wouldn't recognize the apron and other regalia that they wear. You see what I mean? Unless you were in that jurisdiction. See? So now from Tahuti in the Jedi, all right, then you go into the mystery systems, which is another fraternity.
Right.
That you had to study in for 30-something odd years before you show proficiency.
Yeah.
That's what they let Tutmos do that, what we call Moses or Musa.
Oh, he's dropping gems tonight.
See what I mean?
Right. And before he goes on, and this is where Mikey was just saying, he's dropping gems, but they will remain coals.
Mm-hmm.
To who? To the people who don't study.
The profane, unfortunately.
You know, you can drop gems, but they will always, people will walk by them and see coals.
Mhm.
And that is okay. Because that's where, when we get back to the signs and symbols, they will never see what they are, because they were never taught what they are. The only people that were taught what they are the seekers and finders.
That's true.
And students
Yes, sir.
who had teachers,
Right.
right? And then the things that were being taught, because I had to stop him at the mystery schools, because now we're getting into things where people are like, these things don't make sense. They don't make sense to you.
That's right.
Right.
Because you don't know yourself.
That's right.
That's what it's
There
the
you
universe. Because what he was saying, not to add on to what you were saying, Doctor and Brother Jelani, when he was talking about the mystery schools, he said it was different fraternities, as we know, school of thought. So you had the Osirian, the Isis mysteries,
Yeah.
the Osset societies back then, and he brought it to Thoth, which is studying Hermetic principles.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying, and it's very deep. Once you study the Hermetic principles, you see where all school of thoughts are based off that. Believe it or not,
Islam. That's right.
you know what I'm saying?
There is still today books that we cannot translate that we have found. Okay, so just because we cannot translate them, does it make it what? What does it make it to you? Does it make it scary? Does it make it some type of hocus pocus because we can't understand them? We don't have the knowledge, right? We don't have the sorcerer's stone.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have it. We don't have the keystone. Certain things we have keystones too. Certain things we don't yet, because we have not gotten there yet. We're still asking the same questions to each other. Which is why we are still held back into becoming the higher being. We still have arguments on who built the pyramids.
Exactly.
We're still having arguments on who built the pyramids. We can't get past that.
Now, I didn't want to go left with that, because that's a you know what? I'm not gonna go there.
Mm-hmm. That's a Billy Carson thing, huh?
Because the who built the pyramids is a mystery, because it's coming
because
from
we don't know, or we don't agree.
I think it's because it came out of our people's land, so it's a mystery now. Yeah,
right.
The aliens built it.
Aliens.
Anunnaki.
But so what happened to all the other pyramids all over the planet? So the Anunnaki did that too, and all that.
Yeah, they
I
came
don't
from
know.
the 19th galaxy and all that.
Whoever did it, there's proof that our people had that science, because when you're looking in Mesonetta, they have pictures of computers. They have pictures of helicopters.
Yes, they did.
Flying apparatus. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a good point.
So there were people who had this knowledge.
Yeah.
We demonstrate telepathy damn near every day.
Mm-hmm.
Brother Fever, You might doggone say, man, I need to talk to my man. I need to talk to Ron. And both of y'all hit the phone at the same time.
That had
Man,
happened numerous times. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was calling you. But neither one of you recognized that telepathically you had already talked to each other.
Yeah,
That's true.
And decided you wanted to doggone speak on a lower form of communications. Islam? You know, when you ever get that feeling, somebody standing behind you and you look, somebody's behind you. What about when you look and there's nobody behind you, but you get the same feeling?
Oh, that's a different dimension right now.
Absolutely, positively. That's somebody from the astral plane that's vibrating at a higher level of speed that you can't see with the naked eye. But sometimes you can see out of the corner of your eye, because out of the corner of your eye, you see things at a higher vibratory rate. Remember, the first law of metaphysics is everything vibrates.
Exactly.
See what I mean? So now, getting back to Masonry, it actually slows down in vibration as time comes up. Because when we get out of the mystery systems, then you start talking about the biblical times. Hammurabi Bey, who we know as Nebuchadnezzar, you know, and the architecture that these people built, the tools that they used to build them, which later became spiritual and philosophical messages that reminded us of how we are to maintain our morality.
Which is, so now here's what Jelani is talking about. When we're talking about physiological, and then we get into the mystery sciences, and then they start to realize that people did not want this to be spread to other people to have this information.
Right.
Because when you start and get into the things of the written word, because things were always written down in types of writings. You can call them hieroglyphics, you can call them different picture words, or whatever you want to call them. They were written down in text, which is why the oldest libraries and even Alexander the Great was looking for them, tearing and ripping up all of Egypt, all through Africa, trying to find stuff, and then burning libraries. Because he found things that led to things. He wanted to keep it for himself, and then he was destroying them because he wanted to keep it to hold it himself. But he did put it in a spot where he can hold on to it, but then he left, again, traps in places where people can find them only if they knew the clues that he left, and people found them, and so on and so on. But again, when the information didn't want to get out, that certain other philosophers, you could say you're going to always have an enemy amongst you in your midst. And they were telling these leaders or these mystical writers, or however you want to call it, these astrologers, and they all had some sense of what was going on. And so they would send out these buffoons, these thieves, to hit people over the head to try to capture the word. So we had to split up the information and try to spread it in the four corners. Because if you put the words together in the different keys, they could get a hold of certain things they shouldn't have power to.
Exactly. Beautiful.
Again, that's where different organizations were started, to hide certain words and keys.
Woo! Yeah, that's deep right there. Yo, beautiful. And to add on to what he's saying, to what both brothers are saying, the word, I don't care how many, again, like I always say, how many DVDs you have watched about Freemasonry or books you purchase, you will never find that word that you're looking for.
No.
That's right.
You got to step into that temple. And then when you step into the temple, it's masking different sciences to receive. You will receive the word from the higher power, and you will know what to do with that word within yourself.
Islam.
That's all it is.
To add what you're talking about,
Mhm.
even in those rooms, only a small percentage of the people in them rooms actually grasp the higher knowledge. See what I mean? In other words, being real, you know, jumping forward. One of the problems with Asiatic Masonry is that the majority of those people are extremely superficial. They memorize words just to repeat them in order to gain access here or there. Very few people do minuscule things like our last conversation about the 7 liberal arts.
Yeah.
Very few people dig that deep. The average brother doesn't understand that when he hears Hiram of Tyre, he doesn't understand that the land of Naphtali, where Brother Hiram was born, is also connected to the Phoenicians. The Phoenicians are connected to the Moabites, and the Moabites are Moors. Oops. Osifu, how you doing, sir? Islam.
Brief.
See what I mean? So you see Phoenicians and don't understand. You're talking about your own people. But nobody digs deep enough. Like we said earlier, we too busy trying to figure out a way to divide.
And again, that's just on the physical level. We're not even talking about on the frequency level of what the Phoenicians were doing. So you can get things on what you call a physical level, but when you get down to the physical, the Phoenicians, they were doing things on a frequency level. So now they moved their information on frequencies and developed their information through the stars.
But see, all of the mystery schools, all of the jurisdictions are supposed to aspire to develop themselves to go to that level. Even in the Blue House, there's levels in the Blue House that are extremely esoteric. Extremely. But very, very few people delve into that because they're blindsided by Christendom. You know, I mean, I heard a brother one time sitting in a Knights Templar meeting says this is a Christian organization. Well, that statement just violated the very mandates of Freemasonry. There is no religious requirement in Masonry.
No whatsoever.
And besides, the Templars, they were a security company. They were mercenaries. They were paid to secure a people by another group of people. See? And
they were really just there to protect the word.
Pretty much. That's it.
That's it.
And then, you know.
So you're right. They were warriors, but they were just there to protect the word.
And paid well. Paid so well that they started having power. That's why the Catholic Church ordered them gone.
Yeah, to be killed.
Demolay.
Yeah. The Roman Catholic Church realized that they was not there for the Pope, the paper Pope. They were not there for the king. They were just there for the word. They were like, okay, if you're not there for the paper Pope, then you have the power because you're the ones who have the word. So let's get rid of you because you don't work for anybody, really.
That's right. And especially you have to understand that although they depict the Templars as Europeans, the first Grand Master was Hugh de Payon. Him and his cousins were Moors. and they have pictures of them brothers. One of them, matter of fact, the brother Demo, the brother, the first Grand Master, who I just mentioned, he looked like Lionel Richie, man, with a part down the middle of his head, man, and the pro on the side. See what I mean? So we don't understand that forever. That's been one of our jobs: protection of the planet, protection of. Sorry, y'all.
I think that's where we go. It goes back to what we were talking about once before: is that we protect the oath. The oath we take has nothing to do with people.
No,
and I think that's where, when it comes to different organizations, this has nothing to do with other organizations or anything like that. They can have their fun. They really can. But this is about more than that. You just have to learn. You just have to want to study it, dig into
and commit to it, brother. You know, that's the biggest thing. You know, to commit to it. Like, I mean, Brother Sharif, I mean, on one of the other shows, he said that, you know, he take his oath to Noble Drew Ali. That's what he's supposed to do as a Moorish American. He's supposed to have his allegiance. It was something to that effect there, brother. I don't know if it's exactly what you said, but that's what he's supposed to do. He's a representative of that jurisdiction, fraternal order.
Well, no. Nah, Moorish Civil America is not a fraternal order.
No, I just use that for lack of a better term, dear brother. That's all.
Moorish Civil America is not that.
No.
And what I mentioned, and what I had said at that time, I was talking about Freemasonry. What I had said was, in a very, very strong way, that I will never defend Freemasonry because I don't need to. You see what I'm saying?
It defends itself.
I don't need to defend it. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
What do we say? We say ask one to be one, right? If you ain't
that's
one,
right.
You got no business talking about it. And that's it. So all I got to do is ask you, oh, okay, you know, how old is your mother? That's it.
Uh-oh.
If they can't answer that question, what are we even talking about?
We're not even talking about nothing. That's exactly correct.
See what I'm saying? Now, more science, civil America is something totally different. Prophet Noble Drew Ali said you would sacrifice almost your very life to protect your movement and your profit. So that's a difference. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah,
I got you. I stand corrected. I got you. You know, but the thing we have to understand is when because I hear Moors talking, man, I ain't taking no oath. Well, you know, in some way, shape, or form, if you belong to an organization, you have to demonstrate some type of allegiance. See what I mean? To that organization, to that jurisdiction.
But can I add though, Jelani, cut your wisdom? The majority of the people that's talking about not taking oaths and talking about Freemasonry never stepped foot into a temple. They probably went to a party, but never joined a gathering,
a Shriner's Ball or something. That's right.
Yeah, brother. They never walked in and have done the work. They wouldn't even get past the threshold of the door.
I mean, brother, you know, you said a mouthful because just like one brother was telling me, yeah, man, you know, I know all about masonry, man. You know, when I was in the Blue House, I'm like, brother, the Blue House is your apprenticeship program.
That's it.
But there's a lot of work in there.
Oh yeah,
you can do a lot of work in there. People want to jump around. People want to jump around degrees like they go from Subway to fine dining, talking about they know salami or cured meats. They don't know what they're talking about. They don't. They don't. You for me, I think you should move around.
I like that analogy, brother. He said from Subway to fine dining.
Yeah,
I like that.
The most powerful. People think like the higher the degree they go makes you a Mason. If they really study, the moment you take that light, you accept that light, that's the most powerful degree right there.
That's right.
The others, you're growing, but if you're into esoteric circle, you realize that is the most powerful level you're at.
No, and see, what people don't understand is just like in martial arts, to make the analogy, all right, from the time you're a white belt to black belt, The neophyte believes that that's the end of their education. No, brother, you went through an apprenticeship program. Now you're ready to gain higher knowledge. So when somebody say, yeah, I went to the Blue House, I said, okay, what else?
Yep.
You know, because that Royal Arch, that gives you a historical education. That Templar gives you a military background.
Yeah, but in the Blue House, where did you go? Did you stand at the door?
Yeah.
Right. Did you hang out in the West? Right? Did you hang out in the South? Where have you been in the Blue House?
No, just stuck on North.
Yeah, right. You know what I mean? There's a lot of places that to go in this house that needs work to be done. You know what I mean? That's like saying I've been in your house and I lived in your house, but you haven't cleaned any corners.
Yes, that's true. I like that. That's true. That's true. But you know, there are other levels to it. You know what I'm saying? Just like with a black belt. Now you start working on your degrees, different degrees of knowledge. And you have to go through initiations, for lack of a better term, to prove worthy of the next step of knowledge to take on. A lot of people think when you get promoted to first degree, second degree, third degree, that that's what you are. No. Every degree that you get promoted to, you're working into that degree. See what I mean? And Masonry is the same thing. When you finish with the Blue House and you go into the Red House, if you're going up the York Rite side, now you start all over. Now you got to learn how to enter that door and work your way through that jurisdiction. You know, on the Scottish Rite side, you leave the Blue House and now you're in an ineffable degrees. And what you don't learn on the York Rite side is taught on the Scottish Rite side. They symbiote circles of each other. Same thing with the Knights and the chivalrous rites. They're symbiote circles of each other. And they meet at the top with the consistory, which in ancient times was your court.
Or you could become a renegade, no disrespect to them, but you could just leave and go to a Martinist order. That's something else.
That's something else. Matter of fact, I claim ignorance on that. You gotta break that down to me sometime.
We'll talk about that one day.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'd love to know about it. See, because I live for knowledge, man. You know, just like I remember reading the paper on the Shriners. And to the commoner, that's a charitable organization. But in ancient times, they were the bounty hunters. They were the Hashins. If the court said, hey, look, this dude broke the law and he went on the run, who you think they tell to go get him? And they bring him back to court. And if he was found guilty, they gave him a shape up. Even in more science, we know that scimitar as a symbol of justice, Islam. Am I right? Or am I right?
Oh, yeah.
You know, and Elder Taj, peace and blessings be upon him. I'm sorry that, he's not feeling well. You know, he used to say, well, yeah, that's the subjugation of the woman. So one day I said, you know what? Let me look up male Egyptian headdresses. I'll be doggone if it don't look like the symbol on that vase. Women's headdresses are completely different. It look like Nefertiti's in them. So, brother, that was a symbol of justice.
That kind of goes back to, again, the things we look at, the things we don't know, the signs and symbols of what we don't understand, how it speaks to us through history, how the clues were left in the different books, broken books, segments of paper, written on the different tablets and walls, and it was laid out for us to understand, but we get stuck in a mental consortium that we get so confused about our ego that we miss the meaning even in the stars. Because so many things are understood just from what did they know, what did they see, we still see today, but we don't look up. We don't understand the movement of the stars. You know, a lot of information is put out there through astrophysics, through astronomy, because that's one of the original languages is astronomy, and then delved into mathematics.
Indeed. So before we move on, I want to move on to this. I want to ask Brother Sharif, and then anyone else, you can chime in on it. The origins of Masonry, right? You know, when people talk about the origins of Masonry, they go straight to Egypt.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very multifaceted question. It's very, very multifaceted because you have to be very clear in the conversation context-wise. Mm-hmm. What are you really speaking about when you say Freemasonry? You see, because if we're going back to ancient Egypt, it wasn't called Freemasonry.
That's right. That's right.
You see what I'm saying? And Egypt didn't pop out of a bubble. So that means it was somewhere before it was in Egypt.
Yes.
You get it?
Mm-hmm.
So how far are we really going back? Pre-Diluvian time? You know, like, you get it? We're going back into remote history, you know, to a point where from the Western perspective, it's called prehistory.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So if we really want to keep it a buck, this is just my opinion. What people are calling today Freemasonry has no birth record.
Facts.
Yep.
Facts.
I mean, today people still think Western civilization started when Rome fell.
Yeah.
I mean,
a lot of Masons do.
But so it's like Sharif has said this before. If you're still thinking about Masonry started with the house that started in British rule,
1717, the taverns, right?
Yeah. I mean, so who are you being a slave to? Which information are you tied to? Then they still got you wrapped up in silliness, which is why you're asking these types of questions, which goes back to why you're so conflicted with not knowing history. Mm-hmm. You are not ready to be taught because you're not ready to listen.
Yeah.
Damn, beautiful, man.
Yeah, Islam. I mean, when you and people don't understand that when you are privileged to read the rituals, there's a lot of Masons who see Europeans in it, but if you actually look at the lineages and the nationalities identified in the book, they're all Asiatic. They're all melanated. They're all ancient people, like the ancient people in the Old Testament and those tribes. But if you don't do the extra investigation, if you don't dedicate yourself to go beyond just memorizing words and start asking questions about who these individuals are and where were they supposedly existing in history. And that's when you realize that they existed thousands of years ago. Mm-hmm. While these people who we mistakenly reverence were still grunting in the caves and painting themselves blue with rocks and stuff. See?
Beautiful.
They're excellent usurpers. Excellent usurpers. They've hijacked our history, our culture, and then hid it from us. Just like George Washington said.
They hid it in a book.
Well, I mean, what about before books?
They hid it in tablets. They hid it in information. Just because they didn't hide it from us like they stuck it underneath a pillow. They didn't hide it from us where we could not find it. They hid it in words
ghost of slavery.
I'd like to share something. This is my perspective based on what was just said. I think we give the they way too much credit.
Islam.
We give the they too much credit. Hold on. I want to get this out. We say this a lot. They hit our history.
Yeah.
They hit this. No, we did this to ourselves, people.
Yeah, and I agree.
We did. We did this to ourselves. You see what I'm saying? Like, case in point, right? I was talking recently to the Grand Master of the Knights Templar Order, Timothy Hogan, right? And
shoot, you know that cat? Go ahead.
And so, right, and so, he'll talk a lot about the legacy of the Templars. What you'll never hear him say publicly is going to detail as to where they got that legacy from.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
But the reason why they're not going to say it openly is because they're Templars. Why would we expect them to? You see what I'm saying? But he'll say, and he'll mention briefly in the public, but if you catch him in detail, he'll be like, yeah, the majority of what we have as Templars we got from the Druze, which are who? Ismailis, the Order of the Rose. They were Muslims that look like us. And that's just a fact, right? But now, to my point is this. We gave it to them.
Yeah.
We gave it to them. But there was a reason why we gave it to them. It wasn't, we want to help our enemy. No, it was deeper than that. Because nations rise and fall. Empires rise and fall. Everybody has their time in the sun.
Mm-hmm.
And our forefathers knew that the sun was setting on us.
Beautiful.
You see what I'm saying? They knew the sun was setting on us. So they said, let's make sure we pass this. You know what I'm saying? And pass it in a way that our progeny may be able to pick it up at a later time.
Hey, Sinetta has something to say to y'all real quick.
We should not be claiming any of these titles. That's what keeps us enslaved mentally. Not practicing collective or not practicing collective economics is what keeps us enslaved mentally. Also, too, I mean, there's other things. I mean, respect to Sinetta, respect to House of Congress.
Salute to Sinetta, man.
But it ain't that simple. I wish it was that simple. It's not simple. You know,
I want to add to it, Reef.
Hold on. Watch this. You know what keeps us enslaved mentally, most importantly, is how we treat each other. Especially those of us that say we have knowledge and we say we conscious. It's how we treat each other. We still treat each other like the N-word.
Yep.
We all, and I'm myself included, we all got some nerve pointing any finger anywhere about what keeps somebody enslaved mentally when we still got the N-word. We still got the Negro in us that we got to murder.
Peace. Yo, Sinetta say drop the link. I want to add to what you said, Reef.
How do you drop the link?
Send it to him. He should reach out to, and you just, have him send his information and hit him, you know what I'm saying, privately if possible.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I wanted to add on to what Reef said about what that brother was saying, Timothy Hogan.
Timothy Hogan, yeah.
When you say they, the Europeans, yes, our nations were falling apart.
Yes.
And as Hove said, no nation can be conquered from the outside unless it's destroyed from within.
That's right.
We were falling. We had our own bouts within our own nation, and we gave the information. They use it against us, and that's what it is. Prisoners of war. Let's keep it. But what happened is that our people tend to demonize our own culture. You know what I'm saying? And I'm glad Sinetta is here right now. I'm glad. Stay on here, Sinetta. I'm gonna show you a prime example. I remember that time when Sinetta had a picture of Johnny Depp, aka Jesus Christ, on the wall. And he had Malcolm X.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody said, he saved me. He saved me more. I don't know, Malcolm. That's what happened with our people. We demonize anything. If it's Santeria, voodoo, hoodoo, whatever, we see it as negative. Meanwhile, the Asian could have pictures and candles in the nail shop of their ancestors. And they'd be like, you know what? That's cool. But when we do it, The Christian churches will attack us. This is demon worship and X, Y, and Z. So
you hit it right on the nose.
That's what's holding us back too. We afraid of our own sciences. We afraid of ourselves.
So I want to say this though. Salute to Sinetta and all the good work that he's done. Sinetta's been out here for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, House of Cons has been around for a long time. Salute to that.
Hey,
right?
Sinetta, I just sent it to your phone, Sinetta. Just sent it to your phone, Sinetta. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, y'all.
But Sharif is right. Economics is one. You know, I'm on 4 national think tanks, and I'm one of 3 black people on these think tanks, nationally and international. And we get paid a pretty penny to look at things that's going to happen in 10, 20 years. We get problems just to think about it scientifically, right? And economics is always there of how this neighborhood's going to change. How is this area going to change and what's going to be affected? So that information gets compiled in all these numbers and stats and probability and possibilities. It gets put into a form. The person who sends us this information, this type, pays for it, goes into the, the think box, and they pay for it. It's a pretty penny, but they pay for it. Organizations from around the world do this. And so they have what's going to happen in your Brooklyn box, wherever people live, of what's going to happen in 20 years for economics. And we have people.
What the good doctor just said is absolutely correct. There's, all you got to do in your respective municipality is go to that city hall, go to your city hall, and ask about the city plan. You'll see for yourself.
Yeah, and that's
You'll
10
see
years.
things planned out for 10, 15, 20 years ahead of time. That's true.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
And you realize how it affects you.
Chat. Just put the link in the private chat. Okay, I think Sinetta read it. All right. Yeah, go ahead, y'all. Pardon me, y'all. Mm-hmm.
And it affects you. And what really affects us is that we keep saying we don't support black business. We don't support anything that has anything to better a community that is of us. I'm not just saying support black businesses.
Right.
We don't support it economically because we don't understand it mentally.
Right.
So it's a wheel.
Yeah. And a lot of it is just, and I don't want to isolate. Let me modify what I had said earlier. I don't want to isolate all of our issues as being recipients of or enveloped in mental slavery to being economic. Prophet Noble Drew Ali said it like this. He said the problems of the world in the general sense are social and economic, but in the profound sense are moral and spiritual. See?
Because
I don't want to oversimplify by saying, "Oh, it's just economic." No, it's not.
Yeah, it's not.
Yes, no, it's not. Oh, he went out.
Yeah, I was just waiting for him to camera up and get his mic on. Sinetta's in the building. Hey, thank Ray Bay, brother Ray Bay. Ray Bay, thank you for the $10. I really appreciate it. Check out what the brother Ray Bay said.
Salute to brother J. Hagen's Bay. That's my brother.
Indeed. Islam to the show. Mikey Fever, say that again about a nation not being destroyed on the outside. All right.
That's big.
Oh yeah, definitely. As Hov said, a nation is not a nation. No nation can be conquered from the outside unless it's destroyed from within. So that's what it is. The infight, and while you fighting on the inside, the enemy is watching and saying, you know what? Let them clean themselves up. That's the self-cleaning oven. They'll kill themselves up, and we just go in there and rebuild as they fighting because they too busy.
Which is why they gave us Martin Luther King as a birthday.
Right.
Yep. Why not Malcolm?
Now back in back in history, right? Back in this history, this part of history when we fell, okay? And this is something everybody can research. It's a part of world history. It's called the Reconquista.
Yep.
Look it up. It was a 500-year struggle with Europeans in Europe, pale Europeans. I have to say that, pale Europeans right? During a time Europe was ruled by Islamic Africans. And it was their 500-year struggle to retake Europe from these Africans. That's called Moorish history.
Islam.
Okay? And it's this time period in which the secret interaction between the Templars and the Druze and the Order of the Rose took place. The medieval era. All this took place, it was contemporary. All this took place in the same time period, right? And that 500-year struggle with Pale Europeans to retake control. When I say Pale Europeans, I'm talking about Euro-Christians.
Islam.
To retake Europe from Islamic Africans. That's world history. The only secretive part about that is that our people in America are the direct recipients and descendants of those African rulers, and they cut us off from that history.
Yeah.
There you go. See?
Which is why part of that first crusade was to kill. Remember, Christians were killing everybody.
Yeah, they were.
Everybody. Jews, Muslims, Islam, they were killing everybody. They were cutting off history.
That's it. That's fact.
It wasn't because of their religion. They were cutting off history. And that history, that's why, again, a lot of history did not want to be forgotten. So a lot of our brothers and sisters laid it down in signs and symbols and information. So you can say you can kill me, but you can't kill the true word.
How about that?
Because even in the Bible, you know what I'm saying? They even in their lives, we could say that the sacred volume, the volume of sacred laws, whatever, right?
Yes.
You know, we see what the Vatican does. They'll put
Yes.
up again Johnny Depp on the wall as Christ.
Yep.
But then they'll say feet like brass, hair like wool.
There you go.
So the lie, no matter what, we still here. It always shows our presence was here.
Right.
We were. They studied at our feet. No disrespect to any Caucasians, but it's a fact. History proves they came to Kemet to come study.
Sir Godfrey Higgins says it openly in his book Anacalypsis. You know, George Albert or Albert Churchward says it in Signs and Symbols of Primordial Man. So we don't have to say it; they already did.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I wanted to show it's not being prejudiced. Like I just, I got this. I'm gonna crack this open, but this is book right here. It's called the Iceman Inheritance.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, this right here, man.
That's the classic book right there.
Yeah, you see the nature. No disrespect, it is what it is.
Right. But now let's be sober. Let's add some balance.
Yeah.
Shout out to Minister Farrakhan for pointing this out to somebody. We can talk all day long about who taught the European and who educated the European and who civilized the European. Look where they are now and look at where we are now.
Exactly. Because unity.
Let's keep it a buck.
Lack of unity. Lack of unity. Lack of unity.
Look where they are now. Look where we are now.
Lack of unity, brother. We lack that.
Willie Lynch, the Christian Black Codes, the Declaration of George Washington and the First Continental Congress. All of these things are relevant. If their people made a blood oath to keep the descendants of the Moors' identity away from the children, under the penalty of death, this is why you see when Moors present themselves today, they're met with not only hostile opposition, but a group, jurisdictions come against them when they make big noise.
But Jelani, here's what's great about the Continental Congress. There were still spies and people who disagreed and who did work for those people who were in that room, who laid out the plan to denounce it. You know what I mean? They were doing their thing that they were setting up for what you call Sleepy America. And there were still laid plans of how to keep the information underground of the truth of what was going on. So we can still tear it down. We just got to adhere to it. But we are split in mental thought and in training and in dedication and in oath practice.
We have to seek re-indoctrination. You know, what does Hosea 4:6 say? My people are destroyed for their lack of knowledge. And because they reject that knowledge, I reject them from the priesthood. See, it's that rejection that keeps us from understanding our true self, our true worth, our true lineage.
And I said this on the other show once. I said, because it was beaten out of us, maybe we should beat it back into us.
Yeah, you did say that.
Yeah, you did.
The prophet said we won't learn unless we learn by the point of a sword.
Yep.
I paraphrase.
Yeah, man. But you're gonna be forced to, like, being in the conditions of the climate. If things do take that awful spin, you're gonna be forced to relearn. There's gonna be a point where we must congregate. We must work with each other. You know, and that's the day I'm waiting for. I'd love to see that.
You know what? I'm going to tell you right now. This is we're doing that right now.
Of course we are. Damn, Sean.
Correct.
NYP doing it beautifully. Look at this.
Correct.
Look at
Correct.
Yeah.
That's a fact.
We're not online slandering one another. You in this school of thought, blah blah blah. And,
Right. That's a fact. That's a fact.
Yeah. So we're building on this, on the masonry, building on over here, over there. Like, we're coming together, and behind the scenes, we're building.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
So it's happening. It's happening. This is an example of that. Now you just need more people like us. It's just it.
But here, Ron, I tell you, it's going to come down to a point where it doesn't matter if you're a Mason or this and that. When the time comes, we're still going to have to ask you to take an oath, because what we're doing is moving forward. We're not asking you about your other ties, other thing, but to this, for us to be collectively moving forward, we're going to have to ask you to take an oath. And the people who have never taken oaths before, they're going to be reluctant, and they're going to be asked out.
You know, let me add to that real quick. See, a lot of times when you hear when people hear the word, when the good doctor said they're going to be asked to take an oath, right? They're thinking that it's got to be pomp and circumstance, and it's got to be ritual, and there's got to be, you got to swear this, and no. It means you got to commit to something,
right?
It means you got to commit. How can we trust you if you ain't committed? If you're not committed,
That's
you
right.
ain't not no good to us, to the movement, or to yourself.
Right.
And that's that.
Islamism.
You got to commit to something.
Islamism.
You got a whole bunch of people talking about something they are not committed to. You see what I'm saying? No skin in the game, but they want to have an opinion on it.
Mm-hmm.
No, put some skin in the game. Get in the game.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying? Now we can listen to you. But you're not in the game. What's the point?
What's the point?
Yes, the doctor's right. Because at the end of the day, we're all the same people, regardless to what fraternal organization you may be in, a cult organization you may be in, no organization at all, religious organization. It does. Listen, at the end of the day, our goal and objective of all of these, as it relates to our people, is to unite people.
I'm all for that.
And that takes commitment. So a lot of people talk about unity, but they're not willing to commit to it. They might get temporarily involved.
Right.
Yeah. It's cool to hashtag and photo op.
That's a fact. But I'm going to tell you this. I've been focused on unity for a long time, and I've been getting kicked in my ass over and over and over and over
How about that?
for years,
bro.
And I never stopped.
But you know what that means, Brother Ron? The fact that you've gotten opposition and that we all have gotten opposition to efforts towards unity, I just put it to you like this. It means that collectively our people ain't done with the whooping yet.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's what it means.
They want to continue marching, and this is why.
We still got more lessons to learn. That's what it means.
This is why I don't get caught up. As we had a show last week about that. Is this stupid diaspora conflict, FBA versus people from the African continent versus the Caribbean. Listen, As I put it, I gave him a perfect analogy. When a cop's ready to blow your brains out, he doesn't ask what
Are
nationality.
you BIPOC or you FBA?
No.
Or you,
Yeah.
what organization you belong to?
Yeah. He's gonna say, "Nigga, you're gonna take these bullets, and I'm gonna put you 6 feet under." No, let's keep it real, because you know what's more
But it
offensive,
is
my word or
real.
the action.
Right.
You know, my words can't be offensive. The actions are offensive itself.
Ooh, come on. That's
I'm not worried about, like, I'm all about unity for the people. So this is why I tell people, take your marching and your singing and shove it up your fucking ass. Part of my French, but I'm getting heated because I hate that we've been marching for 100 years.
You messing, you know what I
No,
mean?
I know I'm bad, bro, but for real,
we
You got the bouncing and everything, boy.
my bad, but if for real, you take that marching and that singing and you do something with that, because it hasn't done anything. We have to fix up our minds, fix up our community, because we have the power. And I'm learning that even in personal life, the black man is a 7-foot giant drowning in 2 feet of water.
Woo!
That's all it is.
That's a mic drop right there.
You know what I'm saying?
That's a mic drop right there.
Going back to Ron, I've had people who push back on my mental health, saying this is what's holding you back. And they still don't get it. They need more explanation. So that's why I was teaching them emotional science. I was teaching them the science of how all your senses and how it enters your body on a science level, not an esoterical level. I'm talking about how it physically enters your body, through your skin, through your eyes, into your brain, into the transmitters, how it's blocking all of your nano self and what you're taking in, and how you are physically transforming it and destroying yourself, and you are allowing it. You are allowing it. They just put it out there like a buffet, and you're eating it.
Wow.
You're eating it. And you're like, oh, how am I eating it? One, you're not, I give you information, you're not studying it. They give you bits and pieces, and you soak it up, like Mikey said, with a selfie.
Yeah.
You soak it up by, I'm upset, I walk with a sign.
Yeah.
That's you being played. They want you to walk with a sign.
We shall overcome.
They want you to be hooked on it, to be like, well, if all these people are going to do is march down X whatever avenue with a sign, I'm good with that.
Right.
You say you love your ancestor, right? I love Dr. King. I love Malcolm X. Why is that street so violent? That's named after him.
Martin Luther King. That's right.
It's always violent.
You know, I just want to make mention of this. You know, like, I just want to say this. This is my own perspective, right? When we mention our people, I just noticed. I've been noticing this for a while, actually. When we mention our people, it's kind of like normalizing, automatic to say that our people are always doing the wrong thing.
No, not always. Listen, it's an outside stimulant as well.
No, I'm saying from what I'm seeing and I'm hearing constantly is like, we need to get here, but what we're doing is we're doing this and we're doing that wrong, and we're doing this and we're doing that wrong. I want to flip it and say, okay, where's the conversation about what we're doing right, though?
Okay, it's statistics. We're not doing right. We spend less time on voting on what you call local politics than we do national politics.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
Right? So we always talking about get the vote out. Get the vote out for national politics means absolutely nothing. Because if you don't vote on your county judge,
right. Politics is local. There's only
all politics is local.
There's only one elected seat in the American governmental system that is not local, and that's the president.
But I got something for everybody now. Peep this. Like I said, to go back to that statement, I think we're all programmed to think what we're doing is wrong all the time. Therefore, we're always doing wrong.
Now let's counter that. Let's counter
real quick.
What are we doing right?
Yeah, exactly. Now I want to ask you guys, what are we doing right? Now, this was showing proof that we're conditioned to think that we all just do wrong. So therefore, we always go wrong in the wrong direction. So I want to ask the whole panel, what do we do as a people that's right?
Right, as a people, for the event, for the advancement for the people.
Cricket.
Exactly. Yeah. You know, let's keep it real. Our people have been traumatized, and we know this.
You doing it?
No. I'll be honest with you. And that stuff been perpetuated down to them.
We know that. We know that already.
Ron,
You've been saying that for how many years now?
We have to change. We had to change that narrative. We have to change that narrative.
You think the specific question you said collectively.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why you're getting crickets.
Okay. So how about so let's do this. What are we doing right? Just give me something. I don't care if it's a small portion.
Collectively.
I don't care if it's New York. I don't care.
Collectively.
Not necessarily. Not even. Collectively would be the whole entire diaspora, right? Or I don't know what you mean collectively, because you could be speaking of the diaspora. You could
say the diaspora too.
You could be speaking of here in America. I don't know what your collective is. What I'm saying, just give me something. I don't care if it's diaspora. I don't care if it's just New York, wherever. Just give me something.
What we are doing correct is we are becoming aware. More and more, people are becoming aware of certain facts that we all wasn't brought here on slave ships from Africa. Our prophet told us that we are already home. They got a long way to swim, meaning that we're indigenous to these lands. But now more and more on these social media, we're becoming aware that the people from Siberia, they're not the indigenous people that we call them Native Americans, that we dark olive people are the original people here. So that's becoming a collective ideology. That's something we're doing right. We're putting the information right there.
Too. Look at behind you. That young I don't know that the youth behind you is hearing this conversation.
Yeah, my grandson.
Oh, I know what we're collectively doing. We buy the most expensive shoes out of Nike more than anyone.
That's a recognition, though. That's negative.
Wait a minute. That's what we're doing right. You can consider it negative. I am being facetious, but that is what we're doing. That seems to be correct.
Y'all got to give me more than that. Come on, somebody.
We buy the most Nike shoes out of anyone.
I done seen more sneakers and stuff that need to be on the main on the main market for everybody Asiatic. You know what I'm saying? Our own shoe and sneaker designers and stuff like that. I don't want to see Nike. I don't want to see a Greek god. I want to see something we produce.
We buy the most luxury cars with the least amount of money.
That's vanity. That's
what
we do.
Come on, Sharif. Come on, help us out. Come on.
I'm telling you, there's nothing.
First, I'll say this, that I think your question, Brother Ron, and your observation is very astute. That we are so conditioned to seeing our people as Negro.
Mm-hmm.
Islam.
When our prophet taught us that there's no such thing as a human Negro. You see what I'm saying? We're so conditioned to seeing the Negro in ourselves,
right,
and associating the Negro with us, that even in a conscious state, we still do it.
Yep.
You see?
So
I'm going to tell you what I say. This is what I say.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've been thinking about what you said. Because it hit me like, whoa, you got a point there. So, but now this is what I say. Personally, my answer, which is going to seem like it's minimalized or like it's minimal or trivial almost, but it's not. You know what we're doing right? In my opinion, the one major thing we're doing right? Breathing. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because we're not supposed to be.
That's right.
I'm gonna give you two things. This is from what I know. One, fatherhood is
Straight like that.
Yep.
Fatherhood has changed in the community now, right? So in the past, it wasn't like it is now, or the fathers are way more responsible. I watch Paul Dyer on the podcast. Sometimes he has a house full of grandchildren. That's beautiful. That's a positive thing right there.
Yeah. Also, too, Brother Ron, to your point, and I saw this on a couple of other shows, other people, where they actually brought out the real statistics about what they call Black fatherhood. It is nowhere near what the narrative suggests.
That's right.
Right.
Nowhere near what the narrative suggests.
And also school graduations is nowhere near the narrative people say.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know of things we are doing well. I do. I just, the narrative that is being portrayed isn't correct. We never knew it. I know it's not.
Right.
I think the narrative has always been misportrayed since Lyndon Johnson, because he had to get his Welfare Act passed. Yep. So they kept that narrative.
Now I'm going to do myself. This is what I'm going to try my hardest to do. Decondition. I think that's a word, right? Yeah. So I'm going to decondition myself to keep saying our people do this wrong, our people doing that wrong, because you know what they say, right? Words create things, right? Words create things.
Yeah.
So I think that's our issue. We keep saying our people are doing this, our people are not doing that, and then when you get around your people, you already suspect, oh, they're not going to do nothing right anyway. So therefore, how the hell can you unify?
Yo, Brother Ron, let me add this too, and I'm glad that was a very powerful question and a very powerful observation, bro. Because guess what it did? It indicted all of us. You know what I'm saying? Now, to that point, I was talking about this, as you already know, in our meeting. Despite our foolery that we have today, our collective foolery, and we got a lot of it. Yeah, despite our transgressions, despite all the crazy stuff we do, Prophet Noble Drew Ali called us a clean and pure nation. So why, despite the foolery, because he also said, as Brother John pointed out, the Moors are hard-headed, stiff-necked, rebellious people that never did anything except at the point of the sword. And when he said the Moors, he wasn't talking about members of the organization. He's talking about all of us that call us Black, right? So that said, he called us a clean and pure nation despite our nonsense. Why? We're clean and pure because we've been perfected by what we've suffered for the past 500 years.
Exactly.
That's why.
Still here.
Exactly.
Still here.
See?
You know what I'm saying?
That's why we're clean and pure.
Trying to join our pain. Listen.
Because we've been perfected by what we suffered. That's why. We've endured what no other nation of people on the planet have endured. We have survived the loss of our collective memory.
Yo, side note, Mikey, you're gonna have to tell me where you got that sweater. I'm feeling that sweater right there. You know.
Nah, I got you. My my lady. You know what I'm saying? But yo, it's true. We're still resilient, man. We're resilient people, man. No matter what we go through, we still manage to find a way, man. Even in our pain.
I just don't like the word surviving. I always say I teach the living art. We have to live, not just survive it. Learn how to live it.
Peace, Robin, England. Ashe Kings, I'm so proud to have the opportunity to witness an adult conversation between you melanated men. That's peace. Peace to you.
Yeah, no foolery here, man. I'm telling you, we're not here to take the slander and take another one down. That's not the goal. That does nothing for you.
Listen, even in disagreements with brothers and with family.
Exactly. That's correct. We just not leaving on no spaceship. You won't catch me on no spaceship.
Hey, so you know what? I'm gonna make this my own project.
You got your ticket to the bureau?
I don't got no tickets. I never did, man. Oh, I don't want to be there. Go on that planet at your own risk.
Yo,
Listen.
I want to make this my business. If y'all could hold me to this. I want to find all the more positive things our people are doing in 2025.
That's dope. That's a dope
Find
assignment.
it.
That's a dope assignment.
Indeed. On that note, thanks for everybody for checking in and chatting with us today. I really appreciate you. Sarnetta, we don't know what happened to you, man. You came on and then you went off. I don't know what happened, brother.
Shout out to Sarnetta and House of Consciousness.
Yeah, definitely.
Shout out to Sarnetta, House of Consciousness.
Respect, sir.
Sarnetta, you got my number. Text me back. Let me know what's going on. Come back on so we could build. Peace to everybody in the chat. Thank you for coming out, Brother Jelani, Brother Sharif Anil Bey, Brother Mikey Fever, Dr. Paul Dyer. And we are out of here. See y'all tomorrow. And
love you, people. Peace.
Yes, sir. Love you too, bro.
Love you guys.
Love you too. Peace.